We are live. We made it. This is attempt number 2. So if we're like extra excited, that's why it took us several tries to get here, and
Oh,
hopefully you guys can join back in and find us. But if not, hopefully you watch the replay. Welcome.
sure. I'm so grateful to be here.
Well, I'm so glad you're here, and I'm always so excited to talk to you. And I know I always feel like I am such an amateur in the K-drama space after I read all of your stuff, but I'm like here to learn, and I feel like we can have so much fun together. First
Absolutely.
of
Well,
all,
I've learned so much. I've learned so much this past week thanks to you. So,
let's introduce ourselves, and also let's introduce the topic, because it's kind of like a weird, very niche topic, mixing K-dramas with like what we're going to be talking about. So I'm very excited. Very excited. Okay. Remy, how about you start and introduce yourself?
right. So, my name is Romy Zommer, and I am in Johannesburg, South Africa. So, we're in the grip of, well, heading into the grip of winter down this end of the planet. And yes, I'm a romance writer. I have multiple books published, both traditionally and self published. And I also work as a writing coach and editor, same as you. So,
Yeah. Welcome. And I'm Gala Russ. I am a writing coach, and I also call myself a publishing strategist. I like helping people figure out that whole traditional publishing, indie publishing, both. How does that work for them? I find that a lot of people, when they start, when they're like beginner writers, don't quite understand the differences and the similarities in the paths, especially like nowadays. I feel like so much has changed since I started publishing, like it's not the same world anymore. So, and I love craft. Like I am such a craft nerd. So this conversations with you always make me just like entirely too happy, because we can nerd out on this type of things. And I just, thank you for being here. So today, in general, and I hope that we're going to continue this and do it like, once a month or so. We're going to at least try that, right?
absolutely, yes. Have some fun. You can never talk too much about writing or about K dramas.
So I think what our current plan is, we're going to keep talking about K-dramas, but we're going to bring in different topics in conjunction with K-dramas, in hopes that you guys are going to learn something that you can apply to your stories. Do you want me to introduce today's topic?
Yes, go for it.
I was trying to figure out how to say it, but I think I have been, for many years, trying to figure out, as I think all writers do, what makes certain stories addictive. Like, why are there certain stories that you're sitting there deep into the night, and it's 4 a.m. and you're like, have to go get up and go to work, but you're still reading it. And I find that K-dramas, a lot of them have that addictive quality. And the 3 things that I have found for myself that have helped me with understanding addictiveness in novel writing are the Jennifer Lynn Barnes lecture on Writer's Id for Romance Writers of America. And we can talk about what that is exactly. Then T. Taylor's book, Seven Figure Fiction, where she talks about universal fantasies and butter. And the tropes, just the general tropes. And in general tropes, I always think about big tropes and then also micro tropes, because I think K-dramas do micro tropes. Those umbrella scenes, sharing the umbrella. It's like one of my favorite things.
Yes.
And right?
Every single K drama has their umbrella moment. Yeah.
K-dramas. And it's such a micro trope moment. So I don't know how far we're going to get today. Maybe it might be just like a longer than one live conversation. So I want us to kind of like explore and talk about all of these things, explain maybe what each thing is, because I think like some of those things were new to you. So I kind of want to
Yeah.
know what was new to you, what kind of research did you do, what is your general impression as somebody who was first timer in this thing. So let's start there.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned the nerding out about stuff. And I think that's, I started as a writer as we all do, not knowing anything about craft, just writing blindly. And I have to admit that very, very first story I wrote that will never see the light of day, well, the very first romance I wrote was very much a like Mary Sue kind of wish fulfillment story, as I think many of us do. And over the years, just trying to understand what makes stories work and what doesn't. And when I first started editing, that's effectively what an editor does, or developmental editor does, is you're basically looking at the story about what isn't working and why isn't it working and what is. And of course, once you're in that mindset and you're thinking about stories that way, you just start thinking about all stories that way. So that was exactly it. When I started watching K-dramas, I think a lot of people, I kind of envy those people who just watch K-dramas and just enjoy them as stories. My brain is always like doing the nerdy analysis. Why is this one working? Why is this one not working? And there are some that don't. Let's face it, there are some that don't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that's what really it boils down to is that what exactly, as you say, what makes this story work? Why is this so addictive?
Yeah. Out of the three elements that I mentioned, Jennifer Lynn Barnes, Writer's Id, the T. Taylor's Universal Fantasies, and like I'm sure you know about tropes and microtropes, but the other two, were you familiar with them before I mentioned, or were those completely new concepts to you?
Well, the whole idea of the id list was completely new to me. So that was delightful. And thanks to you, I've now started keeping my own one this past week and collecting all these ideas. And it turns out I've been talking to one or two of my writer friends, and it turns out they had already heard about id lists, and they were like, "Oh yes, I'll share mine with you to give you ideas." So it's definitely a thing.
Yeah, it's such a good thing. So just to give people a brief explanation in case you haven't heard about what an id list, and I own a recording of that lecture, but it's like an old recording. I've had it for years, and I recently went to re-listen to it, and my link wasn't working. So I'm like typing to RW and saying, "Where's my link? It's not working. Give it back to me." Because I re-listen to it. I don't know, every couple of years, I feel like I re-listen to it and I discover something new about it. I do the same thing with um, Brendan Sanderson lectures on YouTube, because every time I re-listen to them, I'm a different writer. I'm a much higher level of understanding of writing craft, so I pick up a lot more things that in the first, second, or third watch or listen did not quite register the same way. So, and they gave me the link and they said, "Oh yeah, sure, we just revamped our website. That's why it's not working." And as I was listening to it, so she has a lot of different parts in that lecture, and you can find it. She has done like a lot of YouTube podcasts. You can find the information. Like, you don't need to have that particular lecture. You can find that information. But what it boils down to is, we as readers and we as writers have a list of what we enjoy, and those things can be big or those things can be very small. And I sort of like, I can pull up my writer's id list, and if you don't mind sharing yours, I think that
Not
could
at
be a
all.
cool thing. Okay, I'm going to pull up mine. But basically, it is what pops up in your stories. And the longer I've been doing it, the more I'm like, "Oh my God, this stuff does pop up in my stories ad nauseum." And what she's talking about, I think the big lesson there, and what K dramas do so well, is they're like, she is encouraging us to lean into them. Because a lot
Mm.
of us feel, and I recognize myself so much, that, "Oh, but I've already done this in a different story. I need to do something new. I cannot repeat myself again." And she is saying, "But no, these are the things that you enjoy doing. These are the things that you enjoy writing about. And these are the things that probably your readers like. So they probably want
Exactly.
more of that."
If if
Right?
you like it, there will be other people out there who also like those things. In fact, I mean, I think just as a marketing tool, just apart from all the, as a writer, you know, we often see, you've probably seen all over Instagram and probably TikTok as well, those cute little, graphics that people do for their books with all the tropes and the little curly arrows pointing to the tropes. And, and the microtropes and all of that, that there's only one bed. But I think actually having an id list makes promotion that much easier, because now you can think, well, these are all the things that make me excited to write the story. So now hopefully it'll get readers excited to read the story.
Yeah. 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 Okay. I have mine pulled up. You want to go?
Yep.
My one is fairly long. I'm not sure how long yours is. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
And I think
You want to
once
go?
we start reading, yeah, once I start reading the list, for those who don't know what it is, it kind of like makes sense what an id list is.
Yes.
I can go. So um, conventional role reversal, upstairs, downstairs, opposites attract, mentor figure, food or cooking, libraries, universities, schools or education, complicated relationship with parents, big cities, helpful guys slash nurturing guys, deals or arrangements, revelations, secret information revealed, car scenes. And I'm like, scenes inside cars, exclamation points. Looking out of the window, scenes, international background characters, awesome best friends, letters, recordings of interesting or revealing information, photos as memories, illnesses, deaths, conditions for the main character or significant side character. I kill so many characters, and I like I've had cancers, I've had strokes, I have like ooh, I just love that kind of stuff. This one of my favorite awkward meals, especially with extended family or friend group. Lack of knowledge in an area the other character can fill in. Traumatic past, usually parents or injury related. I've watched entirely too medical dramas. I'm obsessed with medical dramas. It is like so good. So this is how I satisfy my obsession with like things going bad medically. I'm like, and as I read this, I'm like going through the list of the different books where all of these things pop up. I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? Sex first, love later. Cinderella running away and finding each other after. Chaotic scenes, chaos things, scenes, office scenes. Awkward conversations about intimate life. Asking, discussing aspects of sex people rarely talk out loud about. That like comes up so much in my stories. I'm like, well, I don't know why. It's like, is this my also? I have an obsession with sex education in general as a topic, so I think that's kind of how that comes out. Making coffee. I think in every single book I have people making coffee, not like drinking coffee, but like making coffee. Women who are part of the decision making process,
Oh yeah.
symbolic items, airport scenes, hotel room scenes, and then pregnancy or birth scenes. I have so many pregnant scenes, and I actually have like people giving birth on the page.
Oh wow.
That's what having two kids does to you. I do not know, but that's a long one. And I
Yeah, and
could
it's
hear you
amazing. My
reacting
list,
to some.
yeah, my list is so completely different from that, which also just goes to show, how unique we all are, and that uniqueness we bring to our stories. So, yeah, mine is, and what's interesting is also, I think, what's important is I think we need to keep updating these id lists because when I think about when I first started thinking about this, it was like, well, what were my older books? What is the common thread through all my older books? And then I realized, but I'm not the same person who wrote those books 10 years ago. I need a list that works for me now and what is exciting me now. And a lot of the things that are exciting me are the things that I'm seeing in Korean dramas and also in the Chinese short form dramas that I've been watching. So
Mhm.
the things I love are like the very slow burn romance. The tsundere hero, he's like emotionally distant and cold and almost seems emotionless with everyone else except with the woman he loves. I love contract marriages and arranged marriages. I mean, this is so like not very contemporary, but trying to find that how to give that a contemporary Western spin is quite fun.
Cool. I love deals and arrangements and like,
Yes.
mm,
And kind of from that, I love couples who barely know each other, but they're already married and now they're falling in love. That whole idea
mhm.
of, two people who don't, because every romance is often about people who don't really know or understand each other, even if they've got past history together, but they're finding each other. So I love that watching them sort of fall in love thing. I love the he falls first and hardest trope. And I think so, so many of these are actually probably, where you come from personally, but I love green flag heroes, cinnamon roll heroes, even if they're hiding it behind a stiff exterior. I love heroes who listen and pay attention to their woman. They notice things about her. They listen to her. They give her, um, support her career. Support, in fact, both of them. They should support one another's careers and their interests. And another thing that I discovered I loved, thanks to K dramas, was the best friends. A
Hmm.
bromance, usually for the guy. I love K dramas where there's a bromance. Um, and particularly for the woman, I love how so often the female characters have these strong supportive friend groups.
Best
So
friend.
that's something I'm definitely writing more of into my books, both on both sides, that they have, these really healthy friendships. Um, yeah, a hero who pampers and takes care of his heroine and puts her first above everything else, even his work that he is obsessed with. Um, I also love a little bit of unrequited love, one love interest pining for the other, especially if it's somebody that they've had a thing for years, but they've never confessed to it, or, they
Mm.
secretly love the other one, but can't show it. All that suppressed emotion. I've said romances already, found families. And I do rather like the sort of one night stand and then, oops, finding out that they're, your brother's best friend or the new boss or something.
Grey's Anatomy version. Yep. Start of
Yes,
Grey's
exactly.
Anatomy.
Um, Men in Glasses.
Ooh.
What else? Oh, yes. When the love interest takes care of the other one while they're sick. And for me, it's bonus points if at the point where they're taking care of one another, and this is very much like a hating game thing, but if they're still enemies or near strangers at the time when they're taking care of each other, for me,
I
that's just like an
love that
oh,
scene in Dating Game. Oh, that was like chef's kiss again. Like you're speaking my language.
yeah. Um, Yes, and then heroes who feel intensely but are very bad at expressing those feelings. So,
Mm.
you still get, again, it's that suppressed. I clearly have a thing for suppressed emotions because this whole idea of, he's not completely unfeeling. He has them, he just doesn't express them terribly well. Um, and then also just love the idea of a hero with a lot of power, and of course the heroine who brings him to his knees and is able to make use of that power to, protect herself or so yeah, it's still a work in progress, but that's my list.
Yeah, I love it. I love the. I think when I started writing it, I had more macro trope kind of things, and then as I've been working in it, I've been putting a little bit more like the micro tropes, like what we were talking about, like the making coffee thing, or um, I think there were several other things that I was mentioning, but like they're a little bit more specific things. And one of the things that she said, Jennifer Lynn Barnes, in the lecture that I listened to, she talks about if you're stuck in a scene and you're like, I don't know, it's just not going, go to your id list and
Mm.
find something that you're super, and just put that in that scene, even if it doesn't necessarily 100% make sense. Like there's so many, and the longer you go, the longer your id list is going to be, but there's always something that will kind of sort of fit and make that a thing. And that has helped me tremendously so many times when I'm stuck somewhere and I'm like, okay, well, let's put them in the car then.
Exactly.
Let's see what happens if they're in the car together. And I think that my part with the car, and I've seen somebody, one of my author friends who I really, really love reading, Emily Reese, she has car scenes as well, which I love. But in one of her books, she had them on the plane sitting next to each other. And I'm like, oh, that's even better. That's like really forced. They cannot even close the door and like, in the huff, get out and go somewhere. They're like stuck for multiple hours and they have to deal with each other. So confined spaces. And I've read
Yeah.
several stories when they're stuck in the elevator, and that also does something for me. So I think I need to add not just like the car. I think the part in the car that gives me the most pleasure is a confined space where you cannot escape and run away, and you have to confront each other and have the conversation. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
like there's no escape. There's no escape. You have to
Yeah.
do it. Um, if you were to think about more micro tropes, and I think if people want definitions, I think the tropes are the bigger things that you usually put on those, enemies to lovers, upstairs, downstairs, billionaire romance, while microtropes are kind of the specific little things that they do. We mentioned already the umbrella for K dramas.
Mhm.
I'm going to go to my list. I wrote a list. If anything comes to mind to you.
I
Um,
mean, what I love about that, the umbrellas in K dramas is a perfect example because it gets used in so many different ways. You know, sometimes it's a protective thing. Sometimes, I'm just trying to think, for example, while you were sleeping, where I don't know if you've seen that one, where they have these premonitions in their dreams, the two main characters. And he at first doesn't believe it. So she actually sets it up. She's sort of waiting for him with an umbrella, um, and he says, "But it's a clear day." What and later on in the day, it starts to rain, and he's and it's it's a clever way of using that umbrella motif, but for something slightly different. Sometimes it's an umbrella that gets loaned, or I think there was another. I can't remember which K drama it was, where the umbrella actually became, or maybe it was a Chinese drama I was watching, but this umbrella was used as um, I'm just trying to remember how it was used, but basically, she was given an umbrella. In fact, I think it was a Chinese drama many years ago as a teenager, by somebody who helped her at a moment where she was like in her darkest period, and she's hung onto this umbrella for all these years. They meet again years later, not knowing that they were the same two people who met back in high school. And it's only when he sees that umbrella and goes, hang on a moment, that used to be mine and I gave it to this girl, that's the moment where they realize we actually met once before and you were actually instrumental in like saving my life. So, I think there's so many different ways that you can use that motif
yeah,
and
and to
still
me, that's
play into
also
it.
symbolic items. Like that's one of the big things. I almost always have a symbolic item. There is like something that kind of either one gives to the other, or they both discover, or something that becomes a thing for them. In the story, the not a fake chance. There were like I was digging into this, and I came up with that grand gesture at the very end. Like I was basically writing the epilogue or the last chapter, and then I'm like, oh no, that is going to be a cool grand gesture where he was basically collecting different mementos, and that kind of goes also with my thing of, like collection of photos, a collection of items that mean something. And he was throughout their dating collecting little things. And then when he's proposing to her, he basically like makes this grand gesture that involves all of those little things that he has collected that means something, that he held on to for 12 years. And I'm like, oh, that's gonna hit all of my favorite things, collecting things, revealing things of memories and items of significance, but not of one, but like multiple of them. I'm like, oh, this makes me so happy. This is just so good. I do not know, probably not to everybody, but to me, that was like, oh
Mhm.
yes. It just hits on so many points. Other microtropes I wrote down, like my first one was shared umbrella. My other one that I feel like in K dramas I see a lot was the wrist grab. And there I feel like two wrist grabs. One is when they're falling. Like how many wrist grabs when they're falling have you seen? Like this thing when they do. Like I don't know if it happens in every, but I feel like it happens in almost every K drama that I have seen. And the other one is where they grab each other's kind of hand, and they're like normally at that point they're not touching, they don't maybe like each other, and then they grab each other's hand, and then they kind of like drag them away from danger, or like run through the crowd, and this is like no, go this way. But that is like their very first real touch.
Mhm.
And there is either a danger moment or like you can't just rip your hand out in these moments. You can't rip your hand out and say, no, no, don't touch me. So you kind of like are justified in my head as a screenwriter, right? Or as a writer, I'm like, um, you have to keep holding on. Even if your brain says, oh, this is not the person for me. Oh no, we shouldn't be doing this. But you're in a situation where you have to, because otherwise you're going to fall down, or otherwise you're going to, be attacked by somebody. So there is the survival instinct versus your mental block. Oh, this is not the person for me. And then that's why I feel like that's why that kind of grasp matters. I do not know if you've noticed the grasp.
Oh, yes. And also how that grasp progresses to hand holding later. And it actually makes that nice, it not only shows the progression of the relationship, but it just has that moment. Like we went from that out of necessity to now out of choice. It's got lovely symbolism to it.
Yes, I
Very.
like the fact that the whole going from I have to I want to I can't live without it.
Mm. And I see Amy
Um,
in the comments has spoken about the seatbelt moment, checking that the seatbelt is fastened. What I love also in the K dramas is how there's always the lean in, and you kind of think he's coming in for a kiss, and then he takes her seatbelt and straps her in and secures her in. I think that's such a cute moment as well.
I love that one. I think that at least in the 50 Shades of Grey movie, he does that, but in the helicopter.
I haven't
Because,
seen that one.
make it billionaire, like so a seat and he fastens her into a harness or seatbelt, but in a helicopter before he flies that helicopter. So again, talking about why are certain books so addictive, like that is a huge trope, right? It's a seatbelt scene, but amplified with all of the billionaire juices, sauce, and whatever extra magical powers on it. Um, I really, 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 really love hand holding. I'm going to add it to my id list. I
Mm.
definitely have written hand holding many times in different symbols. Like the first time hand holding or hand holding where you feel like, oh no, we're like angry at each other, and then you hold hands. That's such a simple gesture that ends up bringing so much to the table that I'm going to add it to my id list.
Absolutely. You've just reminded me. I've just watched Healer, the K drama, and there's this beautiful moment. So they don't know who the other is. So he is this man for hire who goes under the name, the pseudonym, or the whatever you want to call it, the work name of Healer. And she's a reporter who's connected with him, but she doesn't know his identity, his real identity. And they set up a date in a cinema. And she basically is sitting there all alone in the cinema, and he's actually watching her watching the movie because they can't be together in the same place. He's protecting his identity. But as she's leaving, he grabs her hand. And they literally, she's facing out of the movie, out of the cinema, and he's standing in the shadows beside her. And neither one of them can see each other, but their hands connect. And it's such a powerful, beautiful moment. Oh,
Goosebumps, goosebumps. Just even thinking about it, I haven't even seen, but I imagine that. I also, what you mentioned, watching somebody. I have written that several times when he is watching her watch something, or when he's watching her kind of like being emotional because she's interacting with something else. I think that's another id. And Amy, if you have more, or if you are thinking about your id lists, like share them with us, because I think that is super exciting to see. And I like borrowing from other people's id lists. So like your friend said, oh, here's mine. It does
yeah, one
help.
of the ideas that was appeared on her list that I'd never thought of, but I so want to write it into my future books is rooftop scenes. Again,
I do that. I love it. My last Wattpad scene, my last Wattpad book, their meet cute, well, their re-meet cute is on the rooftop. And I was like, oh my God, oh, you get to write a rooftop finally. Ah. And that one is also an arranged deal because I like arranged deal, but they're having a baby. It's an arranged deal. They're going to have a baby together. So like I put my arranged deal there. So please do write rooftops. And there's so many different rooftops. Like, the YA rooftops on your family house or something like that versus like a rooftop of a skyrise, high tall building, whatever. Tell me more. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, Healer had one of those scenes as well because the healer likes high places. He likes to be able to watch the world without being seen himself. Um, And so there's this gorgeous little scene. You know how they often have in K-dramas, the beach scene where the guy sets up a tent with all these beautiful romantic lights and they sit on the beach and watch the ocean. And they actually did that in this one, but on a rooftop. So he has the whole little setup with the little tent and the beautiful fairy lights and the camp chairs, but this time it's on a rooftop. And I thought that was also such a nice little nod.
Which goes back to combining the things,
Mm.
like combining things that you like. That's why I was so happy about that grand gesture that combined a lot of my mini ids. And I'm like, oh my God, I get to put several of them together. Like, it's like amplifying it. So if you have multiple ids and you can combine them together in one scene, you're going to get so excited to write that scene, and your readers are going to be so excited to read that scene, right? So
And it
picnic
doesn't
is one of
mean,
my favorite things.
yeah, and it doesn't mean, I started off this conversation saying that, my very first book was this very like Mary Sue kind of, self-insert thing, many, many, many years ago. But, it might sound a little bit like that's what the id list is that self-insert. We're writing stories that are, just hitting all of our own beats. But I don't think it's that at all. We're still crafting complete stories. We're still doing character arcs. We still have plot points. This is more just, it's the cherry on the top. It's the, as you say, it's that addictive quality to what we're doing. It doesn't mean you have to throw in everything that's on your id list into every book, but it's a way of exciting yourself. Particularly, I think when you are feeling, you mentioned it earlier, when you're just feeling like the scene is hard to write, or I'm not enjoying it, or I don't really know what to write next, or it's kind of like that writer's block. And of course, the same thing goes if somebody's had a lot of people, you will know this as well as a writing coach. A lot of people come to us as writing coaches because they've hit a block, because they've fallen out of love with their story, or they don't know where to go, and they've hit that flat spot. And the first thing I always do is give them a list of writing prompts and just say, forget about your novel for a week or two. Go and do these writing prompts and just get rid of all that stress that's accumulated around your book. Find the love for writing again, and then you go back to your novel. And it's amazing. I think I've got like 80 to 100 prompts, and yet
Mhm.
people, they go through like the first 10 and then they message me and go, I've got it back again. I feel it. And that's probably because the first couple of prompts are all about, what stories do you love? What do you love most about them? What excites you about stories? And it's basically creating an id list. It's finding that passion for what are the things that excite you. Okay, now I've got it again. Now I can get back into my own writing again.
I wanna see your list. I had 2 thoughts on that one. First, another person that you I think know, Megan Fuentes. She's
Mm.
a story coach. I used her for when I'm writing an urban fantasy right now. It's my first foray out of romance landia. It still has romance, don't take me wrong, but it also has magic, and it's like more complicated. I'm loving it, but I've never created a whole magical world. So hired Megan to help me kind of make sure that I have all of my bases covered where like the magical system makes sense. So it's not just like random things happening, which was super helpful. But she also has this workbook that does something similar, that kind of like is asking you to figure out what excites you about what you have already written or what you read if this is the first book you're, so you can dig into that and as I'm writing this book, I get back to that a lot, and I'm trying to remind myself about, no, you're writing this book for fun. You're writing this because I want to write all of the things that I really enjoy writing. And even if they're ridiculous, I'm like, I don't care. This is like a fourth draft problem. Right now
Exactly.
in the first draft, I'm going to put all of the things that I enjoy in there and whatever. But you're also talking about when writers kind of get stuck. I have this series that I have purchased, and I use this a lot. It's I don't know if you can see
Writing dialogue.
writing dialogue, writing action, writing humor, and writing character. So these are prompt books. So they basically have a little prompt, and they are sort of like, I have my favorite ones because I've used them. I don't know how long I've had this, at least 2, 3 years. I don't know, for a while. So I use some of them all the time, and they get the writing juices flowing so hard. I was using one of my favorite ones recently with my teen student. It is what if Prince Charming and Cinderella are getting a divorce? Write a dialogue between them.
Fabulous.
So much fun. Right. I 100% agree. And it has nothing to do with her story, but we were working on getting out of your head when you're writing dialogue, because a lot of people, like, uh, especially when you're writing a story and the dialogue needs to get you from point A to point B, and then you're just like so hugely overthinking that poor dialogue just becomes a puzzle piece. And then when you do fun prompts, you're like, oh, dialogue is supposed to be also fun. It is information, but it has to be fun to read and to write. So, yeah, I recommend this book. It's been nice. But I would love if you would share, or is that so maybe one of the freebies that you do, or how
At the
that
moment,
list?
yeah. At the moment, it's just something I send out to my clients, but absolutely, I'm more than happy to send it out to you. I was thinking maybe I should create a little ebook or something that people can access. And
I think that might be good. I think if you create like a little workbook or something, and then we can
Mhm.
put it in the notes after I usually create like a post afterwards, so people can go and get it, because I think that's a great resource. I love this kind of things. I always go back to them. I also tell this to my students. Like, I have these folders, and I think Amy actually, I've told Amy this. I have these folders where I basically print out things that I collect, all of these little resources, and instead of them lying on my computer, I print them out and I put them in the folder, and that makes me reuse them and go back to them a lot more. So all of those workbooks and checklists and things like that I at least collect during summits or other events that I
Mhm.
go to, instead of them dying on my computer. They're very nice and tidy in the folder, and I can go back and actually use it and reuse it. So, um, yeah, that's kind of my advice to people. If I understand it's like paper. Yes, Amy says that she started her own. Oh, Amy also said, I'm a sucker for kissing, talking in the bed of a truck. Oh,
Ooh,
yeah. That's definitely a good one. I feel like small town, but yeah. And also like picnics. Yeah, I love picnics, or kind of like when he sets up a meal of things that she absolutely loves. No, not just a generic meal, but when he does the things that she specifically loves, like a weird combination of foods and drinks or something.
that's another thing I do love is just food in general. Um, I have two books set in Italy that food is huge. I'm forever Googling menus of restaurants in the area so I can get ideas of what my characters are eating. And it's that whole sensory thing. Yes, food is huge in all of my books.
My
So,
people always eat. It's like a thing. They make coffee and they eat. I have in one of the books that I was writing for what, but that's the same book that I was talking about. That they have the rooftop moment, and when they we meet cute, and this is arranged. Have a child together and like raise the child together, but we're not in love. Um, and they're the date that he takes her to, because I was obsessed with latte art for a while, and during COVID I was like those people were making sourdough bread, and I was I was watching latte art videos on YouTube and making them at home. To each their own. You know what my coaster, my mouse rag, whatever mouse thing is. Okay, you ready?
oh, with the hearts and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little obsessed. I went to a special. I actually made a trip to one coffee shop on purpose, because a person who was like a second place or third place winner in the worldwide coffee art competition worked there,
Oh,
and I have a
wow.
video of him making again, like the little things that we all get obsessed about. So this is one of mine. So I created a scene where he takes her on a date and they learn how to do latte art together.
Aw. Yeah.
So dig into your ids. Like, what is it that you really like in life? What is it that you're really fascinated about? What is it that you can nerd about? in reading books or in writing books or just in your life, and start writing that list and insert that. And those are the weird pieces, because we all, and there's going to be other people who are also fascinated by that. And I had so much good response on Wattpad at that point. They're like, oh my God, this is so like, so many people love that, because you're not the only one, right? Like how many we have already had in common. This is yours, but it's also a bunch of other people are going to 100% dig it, right?
Mm. And we also said we were going to talk about universal fantasies, and that's exactly what it is, it's not just he's making her favorite foods. It's tapping into that universal fantasy of he sees me, he knows me, he understands me, he was paying attention to me. Therefore, it shows that he cares. And you don't have to have your characters outright declaring, I love you and, or I desire you. It's those moments that really make the reader feel it. And as I said earlier, like you can tell from a lot of my hero stuff, he's very protective of the heroine. He pays attention to her. He communicates well. He listens to her, doesn't talk over her or just, and I think that, in fact, sorry, I'm going a bit off topic here, but my daughter's doing a prepared reading for school at the moment. And last year she did the prepared reading from Hunger Games, and the teacher said, no, it wasn't like high literature enough. So this year she's chosen Pride and Prejudice, because, what could be more high literature than Jane Austen and that beautiful language? So she was reading to me her piece today, and she's doing that moment where Darcy proposes the first time to Elizabeth,
Oh,
and he makes a complete botch of it, and he basically insults her. And then she's chosen the page that comes immediately after that. And there's this moment where Elizabeth is raging at him about, and you said this, and it was an insult, and you said that, and, and he actually just stands there and listens to her. And I thought, you know what? That's such a heart-melting moment. Even Jane Austen understood that, instead of having him interrupt her and tell her she's wrong, or that that's not what he meant, or mansplain to her what he really meant, or he actually lets her vent and talk it out. And I'd never noticed that moment before. And it was just, it hit me in the feels. And I was like, yeah, that's why we all love Jane Austen, because she got that universal fantasy.
yes, yes. Oh, yeah, that just makes me like misty-eyed. That's such a deep desire, I think, for women, because I feel like so much in our lives we're told to be like smaller and to occupy less space and to not be, too loud or too expressive, or don't not to cry, or not to, be too emotional. So having that space where your partner is actually allowing you to have all of those things out is so powerful, right? And I think that's one of the things, if you ask a reader, they might say, oh, I like this trope, I like this trope, but a lot of them don't necessarily examine it at this level. But we as writers have kind of the privilege of knowing the craft and examining it and saying, well, if I put a scene like that in my story, the person might not know why they like it so much, but it's because they are going to be feeling allowed to occupy space and be seen and be, their words are of importance to the other person. They want to hear them all, right? It's such a universal fantasy, right? For not just women, for everyone. Like it works for men as well. They just want to be heard just as much as we do, right?
Absolutely, yes. But I think you're right, especially for women, because we're also so often taught to notice these things about other people in order to cater, as moms, and as we're always taught to put other people first and to notice everybody around us. But how often do we get noticed? So to have that played out in a scene, we feel it.
Yeah. 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 I didn't put T. Taylor has a book, and like I feel like now I read her book like when the book came out, and that was again years ago. But now I feel like she has different courses and workbooks and things like that. So if you're interested in learning more about universal fantasies, again, this is not sponsored. Everything that we're talking about is just like my personal obsession with this. Let's figure out what makes books awesome. And there's several people who have different perspectives. And to me, this is kind of the same thing where my obsession with story structure goes. I have a million books on story structure, and each book gives a different view of story structure, but in the end they're also in Western story structure talking about more or less the same thing, just how do they particularly view them. So to me, this is the same thing, whether you're talking about tropes and microtropes, universal fantasies, writer's id. In the end, this meat of this and the K-dramas repeating and doing the same things over and over, the meat of it is the same, is there are certain things that many people will enjoy that you also enjoy, right?
Yeah.
And don't be afraid of that type of repetition, because we are told as writers that repetition is bad. Like if you've written that once, don't write it again. If other writers have written that and you're going to write about that, like that's copycat or plagiarism or whatever. And I think that is the rule that I want everybody to break. And I'm not saying plagiarize things, but this is another one of my favorite topics is comparison titles. I urge writers to have comparison titles early as they're writing their book. It doesn't mean you're going to mimic your book and make it the same, but that is such a good blueprint. Like, what did I like about those books? What do I want to bring into my books that captivated me, that made me again read into the night? And how can I bring that into my book? And then you start mixing it with your own id, with your own characters, with your own world, and it will become a completely different book. But this is such a rich source, those comparison titles. And I will like add that to the list, like tropes, microtropes, universal fantasies, id list, comparison titles. They all feed the same, how can we make this book of yours the most addictive thing ever?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, well, we technically are at an hour, and I knew that we're not going to finish, and I have like a bunch of other things, so I think we should continue. If you're
I'm
up
happy
for
to
that.
continue anytime, as long as the camera gods allow, or the Substack camera gods allow.
Well, I feel like we figured this one out, and people can watch this on replay if they haven't caught our live, which is totally normal. So we'll figure it out. And I sort of want this to be a monthly thing. So I hopefully I will talk to you in June then, because we're still in May. It feels like I'm feeling like we're in May or in June already, but we're not.
This year is going way too quickly. But hopefully, if people watch this, they can drop in the comments or come find us on Instagram or wherever, or here on Substack, and just share your own id list items, so we can all add them to our own lists.
Yes, please share. It's like one of those things you don't want to gatekeep, because you're going to get so excited about all of them. And I'll ask you to send your id list, and then I will put my id list in the post that is going to be coming with this. And let's end by, is there anything you want to plug in? Is there, we all talked about your potential creating a freebie. Is there any courses you're teaching? Is there anything going on for you right now?
Not a whole lot going on right now. I've had a long string of edit jobs in a row. I'm finishing up the last one, and then I want to take most of June off to write my own novel, especially after this. I'm so excited after talking to you. It's just like I want to get back to my own writing. But I have got this masterclass that is still in progress. I meant to have it out last month, and it's still in progress, which is what writers can learn from K-dramas. So stay tuned, and hopefully by the next time we talk, I will have it available.
I'm waiting for that one. I'm very excited. I'm like, knowing you and how this is in a good way, how nerdy you are, like how much into all of this stuff you are. I'm like, I think they're gonna be gold nuggets in there. I wanna take that course. I am currently I'm gonna do 2 summer courses. It has nothing to do with K-dramas whatsoever. I'm doing one summer course that starts June 6th, and it's gonna go 1 week, Saturdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, which is noon Eastern, which is whatever time we started today in South Africa.
6 p.m. So, but yeah, and that's doable.
8 p.m.?
6 p.m. So it's still a reasonable hour.
Oh, 6 p.m.
So what is
Yeah,
the
and then
topic?
for Europe, so that one is a summer course that I'm doing. It's an accountability class. So I find that there are summers where I had no plan, and then I woke up and it's September and I have not written anything in my novel, or I barely touched it, because summers for me is kids at home, vacation, the schedule is out of the window, and somehow like I end up not writing. And then I had summers where I had a plan and I had a goal and I had kind of like a container. One of them was I was preparing, I was had like a mentorship and I was preparing to submit my story for a competition. And that was such a productive summer. And it was still a very messy summer with vacation, with kids, with everything, all of that stuff. So I decided that this summer I'm going to make myself a container. And what better container than teaching a class? So this is a 12-week class. We're not meeting on 4th of July, but otherwise every Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific, I'm meeting for an hour, and it's called Write Your Novel Summer Edition. And I'm going to teach a little craft nugget every lesson. But the goal there is to hold ourselves accountable, to come up with a plan for each week, and if this week we didn't write, to come back, to analyze, and to be nice to ourselves, and to kind of see why, what worked, what didn't, what can we change, and how can we be writing next time, and not be hard on ourselves, because that's the last thing I want. I don't want productivity for productivity's sake. I want a safe space where people are coming together and supporting each other, and where you're like excited to keep writing. Like after this, right? I'm also excited to go write something. You're excited. So I want this to be the feeling. I want people to be excited. And then on the 18th, I think, of June, I'm going to start writing an evening class at 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific, which is a little bit more for people who are very nerdy craft people who want to dig deep into some kind of craft topic. And I have 8 craft topics. Those are 2-hour long sessions, and it's called Write Your Novel Deep Dive. And I basically pick some of the topics, and we're going to go deep, and we're going to nerd out, and then we're going to apply them to our own stories. So that one is a very, very different vibe. And you can take both, because the topics don't repeat, nothing repeats. But if you want to be extra, extra smart and learn even more about craft, then the deep dive is for you. If you want accountability and make sure that you are writing this summer and feeling good about the writing, then the summer edition. That was a very long.
No,
Am I
that's
doing a good
perfect. I
job?
actually have one client whose kids have just gone on summer break this week, and she was already sort of moaning about or bemoaning the fact that, the time gets so limited. So I'm definitely going to send her in your direction because I think she'll love that.
Yeah, I welcome. Please spread the word. I'm learning how to do marketing and sales. I'm actually taking a sales course. This is not something that I know how to do well. And what I'm being told by people, they're like, you just need to talk about it more. If you think you're already talking a lot, you probably still are not. Just keep talking about it. I'm like, I feel like I've said it so many times already. You're like, not enough. Talk about it more. And this feels so awkward.
It does. Well, I've just been working on the principle this year of following the things I love, just aligning with the things that I'm passionate about, like K-dramas, and just see where it goes. And it's amazing how it does take on a life of its own. So, yeah, again, it's like the
We
id list. You
found
want to
each
just
other.
lean into the things you love.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I did not realize that this is a thing. And I found another author recently that we met in person we went to Jane Friedman's conversation. She was visiting the Bay Area, and I met her, Amy, and she's also very much into K-dramas. I'm like, we need to come and do this too. You need to come and join. And like, so I'm going to check it out and see if we can bring Amy in on a conversation. I'm not sure if she's on Substack or not. I feel like she is. But anyways, I need to stop talking. Any last parting words? Anything
I think
else?
we definitely have to do this next month because there's just so much we can chat about.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Amy, thank you for all of your feedback and questions. And thank you for everyone who is catching this on replay. We will be back next month. Keep an eye on when that's going to happen. And we're going to talk more about K-drama and craft, writing craft.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Now I have to figure out how to end the call. Oh, there's
Doing
an
the
end
same
button
thing
right down
there.
there.
Oh, there we go. End live.